So, so this is a little bit of background on me. My dramatic awakening 20 years ago is what I called it. I have this account, The Observant. I have Twitter, Facebook, um, YouTube now, and I have a book. It's called Mark's Message, and this is the picture on it. My dad drew this picture, well, he painted it when he was alive. And, he inspired me all through my life. And I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I went through and how I was awakened. And it was quite dramatic in my recalling of it. I find it quite dramatic, and it's just the way that it was meant to happen for me. So I'm 30 now. I was 11 when my dad passed away, and before that, I don't really recall my childhood too much. Like, I just recall certain bits and pieces. Like, I wasn't very nice um, at some points, like to some friends and whatever. And I wasn't very aware of myself. Um, and I wasn't really awake. I wasn't aware of the way I was acting or what I was doing, really. I remember some of it, and it was fine at certain points, and it was happy at certain points. And my mom and dad were separated because my dad got really sick, so he was diagnosed with bipolar and manic depressive. So and you can think what you want, right? You can think, oh, she's probably sick because she's out there and whatever, but that that that's just not the case. And I could go into that a lot, and I will probably make a video on that, because I actually think people who are sick, they're not fully sick. I mean, yes, they are. They're sick, and they do need help, but I don't necessarily think it has to be medication. Well, in a perfect world, it wouldn't be medication, but that's in a perfect world. If everything around us was actually for our health and not really against it and not working against us, things just aren't for our well-being in this world here that we've created all together so far. Good forces and the bad forces. So people want good, but people want bad too. So really, going back to the subject, so my dad was sick, but he was just the nicest man. The nicest man. I mean, he was a beautiful soul. I mean, I would call him like just like perfect in what his soul was. He was perfect. He was beautiful, a beautiful soul, but he was sick here on earth. And I think he didn't, really get the kind of help that he needed. And you know, that was a while ago, so really things weren't advanced in any way at that point. Early, it was just the beginning of mental illness awareness and all that, and medication wasn't really there. Although I'm not big on medication. At least it would have stabilized him and blah blah blah. Right. So what I'm saying is my dad was amazing. He really was. He was beautiful, and he smiled, and he was inspiring and motivating, and he painted. And so stuff like this, right? This is actually I should take that off. This is actually a bigger picture. um and so there's more to this painting, but I just cut it up and took it for my accounts, because he's everything that I want to embody in this world, minus the sickness. So, so what I'd like to say is that before my father committed suicide, I was I was asleep. I was perfectly asleep. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know the way I was acting. I didn't know anything about myself. And of course, I was young, so I was still learning about myself. But um, I wasn't like a normal kid, really. Um, certain kids are brought up, you know, um, to know themselves. And my mom has been great with us over a lot of things. I mean, she's the one who's uh, made me spiritual and made me understand the important things about life. But struggling with mental illness in a family is really destabilizing. I think so. There's just a lot of things that happened in my childhood that just, I guess, helped me just stay in my unawareness, I guess. So when my father passed around 11, it shook my world. It shook it. I mean, I didn't even know what hit me. For the first time in my life, I had a moment, one of those moments that you remember forever. But I remember moments before then, but one of those moments that, like, it was like, I don't know if you guys have watched the movie, uh, that Disney movie, about emotions, I guess. I don't even know what it's called. But basically, in the movie, it has core emotions. And so when somebody has their first core emotion, or when that girl in the movie, um, oh, Inside Out, that's what it's called. And it's amazing. I really think that's an amazing children's movie to watch for yourself and for your kids. I mean, for the kids to watch. It's really important. So core memories. Um, it's when you're really hit by something, good or bad. And that was my first core memory, is my father passing. I mean, when my mom told me, it was just devastating. I mean, we were shook and we just couldn't stop crying, all of us. It was intense. I mean, recalling it is emotional just because it was it was very sad. It was very dramatic. And I loved my dad so much, but I didn't even appreciate him until then. It's just sad. I didn't even really love him properly until then. I know I was young, but I never really felt anything truly up until that point. So, and let me tell you something about that movie before I move on, because I might never get back to that movie. I would just like to say that it is really important to embrace sadness along with joy. And that is really the point of the movie at the end. Is Joy couldn't understand. That's her name. Joy couldn't understand sadness. She couldn't understand what her purpose was. She couldn't understand why she was there. So she was basically like repressing her. She was like, just stay in the corner over there. We don't need you right now, right? Like, don't cause any more problems, right? And in the end, I mean, sorry to ruin the movie if you haven't watched it, and it really doesn't ruin it, but, well, I might. But in the end, really, Joy has to learn to embrace sadness, because sadness is just as important as joy. Equally important. So remember, joy is as equal as sadness, is as equal as pain, is as equal as excitement and anything, anger, all those things, they are equal. Do not even think of them one level off of each other. They are all equal. But you do have to find that balance. That's important. Um, and you don't have to have that balance at every moment, but do try to have that balance at the end of a day, or the end of a week, even the end of a month. Try not to go past that month, though, because you should try to at least have, to aim for balance in your life. Every day you should aim for it, but nobody's perfect, right? So, all right, I'll go back to So after my dad passed, I started going on this roller coaster. I would really call it a roller coaster. It was up and down in emotions and experiences over the years, up and down in anger, joy, pain, sadness, happiness, you know, um, moments of being high. And I don't mean high, but yeah, that happened too. But I mean, all kinds of things, all kinds of experiences, you know, breakups, makeups, friends, unfriending. I mean, it all happened. And it was important for me to go through all that. And don't dismiss your experiences. Don't dismiss anything you've been through, anything, because it is all important. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't go through all that. Don't dismiss it. Don't regret anything. Of course, learn from it and get better in your life, get better and have better balance as you go. Now, after after that, so I did start writing, and I wrote a lot, and especially in my late teens, I guess I would say, meaning, up until I was 20 or whatever, I wrote a lot. And then after that, I put it all in a book, um, which, um, I call poetry. It's sort of, one or two liners. Some of it is poetry, but it's mainly just kind of quotes, you would say. And, it just really depicts how I saw my spirituality and people around me and whatever. And, you know, it's just important to talk about, to express yourself, in whatever way you need to, whatever way you've been called to, whatever way you are instinctually like pulled towards. You need to just do it. And sometimes, even sometimes nowadays, I'm like, oh my God, this is, if I do this, or if I say this, or if I put this up anywhere, it's unreal almost. Like sometimes you feel like, is this, should I be doing this? Is this too much? Like in a way where, how can I explain it? It's almost like you feel like it's a dream, right? Like, okay, like for example, I I wanted to have a band at some point, and I've had many in the past, but I wanted to have one in the past year or so, and I haven't had one in a while. And I started thinking, wow, like, is this like out of a dream or something? Like, is this too much? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I talk to myself a lot, like going back and forth. You got to talk to yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, this is what you want. You got to do it, right? But in this society, in this world, you're almost made to feel like you're not good enough to even dream of those things that you dream of. They, those things that make you who you are. Sometimes your thoughts even, your what you would call your logical thoughts pull you away from things that you really want to do, and you really are destined to do, and you really need to do, because that's who you are. And so just those moments that I've had, things like that, sometimes just life feels unreal. And but it's okay for it to feel unreal, because it is unreal. So many things about it are unreal, but life itself is unreal, um, because it's not what you think it is. It's an illusion. Um, so I really don't know where I was at before this, but um, I guess, yeah. So writing, okay. So I wrote my book, and I guess part of that is what I would call unreal, maybe at that point, or I don't really know where I started all this from, but um, I was writing, and that's really, I'll tell you, in the years after my dad died, between then and up until maybe, I don't know, 20, 25, I got married around 23. And really my life was pretty stable around then. But up until then, I mean, it was a roller coaster for me, and not a bad one, not always a bad one. But it was messy at times, and sometimes it made the most sense, and sometimes it was just so beautiful. But it was a roller coaster, and that was okay. That was okay. That was what I needed to go through. But I didn't have a very stable childhood, so I had a lot to come back from. And not everybody has that, which if you don't, then, that's good. That's good. Then you're better off maybe in the beginning. But I do hope for you that you can have those moments of intensity, um, and that you can have those moments of realizations, and that you really don't have to have it by having a crazy childhood, or having a crazy, teenagehood, or whatever it is. um, you really can do it by yourself, but in order to feel those things, in order to get to a meaningful place in life, you do have to feel. You have to feel everything. You have to feel everything you go through, and you have to express yourself. Because if you don't express yourself, then you're not putting yourself out there. And expressing yourself is one of those things that I would call unreal sometimes, because expressing yourself is really putting yourself out there. And putting yourself out there is scary sometimes. Putting yourself out there is, it's like asking for trouble, right? Um, but if you're not asking for trouble, then you're really not pushing the limit. And pushing the limit is good, because if everybody keeps everything inside, then we're not really spreading information, or spreading knowledge, spreading ourselves, spreading our own wisdom, and, you know, even our own falsities, or whatever you call that. Whatever. We have to just express ourselves. But mainly, if you are good, and if you are expressing yourself, then you are doing good for the world. You're not always right, so don't think you're always right, but keep searching for yourself, and you'll get there. So basically, now where I'm at with my life, because um, things slowed down for me when I got married and I had some kids, and it was a really beautiful time in my life, and I did keep on going with my spirituality, and I never stopped. I mean, that just can't stop once you take the veil off, once you remove the veil. I mean, you just can't stop. It's unless you do, you can, but if you're really, really doing your work properly, then you don't stop. Now, yeah, I had my kids, um, and the time that we're living in now is so important that I feel the need to sort of pick back up again, because with my Twitter, with my Facebook, I really took it easy for many years. I felt it was important to say stuff, and to express myself, and to share things. But I did take a break at a certain point when I had my first child, and then I picked it back up. And now I've really sort of accelerated, because I know we're in important times, and I will go into it more in other videos. But I am going to express myself, and I will never stop. And people might not like what I have to say. People might not believe it, right? And that's okay, but they should really keep to themselves. If they don't want to have any part of it, then that's their journey. But my journey is to express myself, and my journey is to speak out, and I will never stop speaking out. Um, it is just what I need to do and what I was put here for. And I have had that confirmation from, from uh, the higher power, whatever you want to call it or him. It's, the most high, the higher power, God, whatever you want to call it or him. I have had that confirmation that my purpose here are my words, um and I'm a mouthpiece in a way for him, for God, for it. um I would say more him from what I know, but it is not a person, it's just so complex. I mean, it's just crazy. But I will go into it in other videos, um, about what I believe and what I've researched and what I've learned. And it has been 20 years in the making. 20 years in the making. And I don't just get here for no reason. I got here following a path of, many different that has many different levels, many different aspects to it. And so people think it's just so simple. Oh, you follow a few things on Facebook and you believe everything you hear, you believe everything you see. I mean, these people, oh, it's sad for people to dismiss others so quickly and easily just because you don't understand the deeper meaning of life, and you don't understand the unseen world. You really haven't experienced it clearly if you are so quick to dismiss people and their experiences and their wisdom and their truth. And even if my truth isn't your truth, I, I, I don't care. I mean, this is mine and you have yours, and you don't have to believe everything I say. But I believe what I believe for a reason, and I have been led here through evidence, through logic, but also more important than logic. Um, I have been led here by my instincts, by my emotions, by my spirit, by my soul, by things that are unexplained, but that are explained at a certain point in your journey. And it all ties in together as you go. You do connect dots as you go. But at certain points, things are unexplained, but you have to keep an open mind through your journey. And at some point, if you've kept an open mind on every single subject, basically, then certain things will be explained along the way. So don't close the doors on certain subjects, because um, certain things might come back to you and you connect them. Certain things will never come back. Certain things, or you'll probably just dismiss them forever, or at least temporarily. Like, everything is just, you just have to stay open minded about everything. Do not dismiss anything. Um, so I guess that's me. I mean, I can't go into detail about everything about my life, of course, and I couldn't do it. I mean, we're under 25 minutes. I couldn't do it under 25 minutes, but it's not important for me to. I will go. I will have other videos explaining other things, um, and but I just wanted to talk about, my dad's life and suicide, and and that was my big wake up moment. But I really had it more actually when I was 18 or 19 or something, 18 or 19, when I really started to open up the book of spirituality, so to speak. I mean, and I actually opened up books on spirituality, but um, my God, the veil was lifted. It really was. And it was beautiful. And after that, that's it. I mean, it's all uphill from there. So I will leave it at that, and I will talk to you guys on other videos.